again, everyone. Thanks for joining us for a monthly AMA. So a lot of went down in August, following the KC, the listing, and as well as some of the campaigns. So we've got Julian and Aaron here. So yeah, for anyone that's listening in, welcome for joining us, and check out the updates that we have for the month of August. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Gene, and hey to everyone in the community that has found some time to join us right now. So why don't we kick off for those that came on time? Appreciate that. Yeah. So what are the kind of major updates? I think the team's been working hard as always. We have been ironing out a lot of the bugs on the launch pad. We did launch the first deal successfully, which we're super excited by. We tokenized some secondary shares of a health tech startup, which is pre-IPO. So it's not a super early seed round. It was a later stage round. So, I think that's it was a great first project. I think what's also really interesting and kind of powerful about that is we delivered the promise of making security tokens and equity and investing in startups and investing, as more products come down the line in real estate and private equity, and being able to do it as easy as buying cryptocurrency and also for the same minimum amounts. So the minimum amount for the first deal, the Tau token was one USD, $1. So that's I think that's kind of incredible, and I think that's something the team should be really happy about and kind of proud that we actually got to that level, because that's always been part of the mission, is to kind of democratize the access to equity investments that were typically only available for really wealthy investors, and pre-IPO companies have never ever been available for $1 for all investors, as in you don't have to be accredited, you don't have to show you have X amount of net worth. So it's a pretty monumental step for us, and now we have the next deals coming down the pipeline, which I think is kind of a bit of an ESG thematic solar play, and we have now a steady build-up of companies coming onto the launch pad and companies that want to come onto the launch pad. We specifically started with smaller quantums because we have, getting things started. We wanted to test drive the tech, test drive the product, find out, feedback, fix, improve, upgrade, all that stuff, which goes on all the time. But this was a world first. I don't think anyone in the world has sold equity for $1 shares before as security tokens. So that's really exciting. And now we want to just build that up and gather more momentum around that. The fundraising environment has been probably the worst in 10 years related to startups, just generally speaking. That's what the data shows. So being able to fund anything, any quantum, at the moment is impressive. I think it's going to really pick up towards the end of the year. I think a lot of at least venture capital funds have been making no investments, so they can't continue to do that because then they won't be able to get paid their management fees, and their investors will get really upset with them. And again, the whole business is investing, and sitting around doing no investments is not really doesn't really make much sense. So I think the sentiment will change, and I think in terms of the crypto markets, we'll start to see we've got to be coming to bottom now or soon, or we just went to bottom, or maybe there's one last dip. But I think we've been watching that quite closely, and with that in mind, we have also, which I'll let Aaron talk about. I don't know how much he wanted to actually reveal, but we've been speaking with lots of different centralized exchanges, looking for a new partner after the debacle with KuCoin and how that whole company operates. So anyway, we're happy to be done with those guys, and we're excited to be coming down the pipeline with a new SEX trading venue. Our strategy will be just to get another venue, step one, and then over the next couple of months, pending how everything rolls out, at least by at the beginning of next year in Q1, we'll start to look at listing on more exchanges. There's market making costs, there's listing fees, it's hard at times to work out what these exchanges actually have and what's behind them, and if they're trustworthy, and their pricing policies are kind of all over the place. So again, and you've got to have market making fees, and you've got to pay listing fees. So, and everybody in crypto that's been around for more than 5 minutes know that there's a lot of dodgy exchanges out there, and it is very hard to work out what's actually going on. So it's a super hard space to navigate in terms of which exchanges to choose and how that goes. The ultimate goal is to get on a couple of tier one exchanges. Coinbase is one of the investors in the project as an owner of the IXSwap platform at the parent company level, as is Gate Ventures, just as to begin, and that's why they sort of start making strategic investments into this kind of space, and there'll be more and more of that. I don't know if anyone in the community saw Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase's recent post last week. He talked about the top 10 kind of areas of focus for him, and one of them was fundraise capital formation through blockchain, and the other one was tokenization of real world assets and security tokens. So that's sort of the core DNA of IXSwap. So there's third party industry leading kind of validation, if you will, around what we're doing. We're starting to speak to Base as well, the blockchain, the Coinbase led blockchain, if you will, that's getting a lot of activity and action. Coinbase has 110 million wallets, so if they launch any products, they've got a good shot of getting some early traction, which they're doing now. So we'll see how that plays out, because we'll stay blockchain agnostic, holistically, kind of the DNA of the platform, and just move wherever it looks to go. But look, overarching, on top of that, we've also been consolidating team and watching our costs as well as we continue to kind of push the project along. And I think there's some of the major stuff that I think is important for sort of community. Aaron, maybe I'll pass it over to you if you wanted to update on anything additionally around and more in-depth information about any of those topics, and if there's other topics that I think there's a few things you're working on that you might want to share as well. Can't hear you, Aaron. You there? You might have to log in and log out. Gene, you can hear me all right, right?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Oh, there. I think Aaron's finally accepted the speaker invite.
There he is. Yeah, cool.
Hey guys, maybe let me just give you a quick update on the exchanges as well. We are looking at a listing in the next 1 week or so. Not going to say the name yet until we put pen on paper. Legal guys are just going through the documentation now, and we're getting ready for sign off and listing. Once that is done, we'll definitely announce it right to the community first. You guys will let you guys know in the chat before letting everyone else know. I guess with regards to the second listing that we're going to be putting up, I'm sure you guys have heard Mark speak a couple of times now. It's going to be an ESG asset, a debt type product. It's actually quite similar to, if you guys are familiar with Goldfinch in the market, that's a similar type of product. Except what we have done is that we've gotten personal guarantees on this asset, which makes it an extremely safe asset, I would think. Not investment advice, but generally, if you have a personal guarantee, you are quite well off, and then quite safe in that investment. Other than that, I think there were some questions. I guess the current on our current market cap. I guess some of the AMA questions as well that I think the community has taken down and has voiced out. So the first one was, based on the current market cap, what measurements are being taken to ensure the project stays afloat? Yes, we know the market cap has taken a massive hit, but that's never been, I guess, the main measurement of how healthy we are as a company. I think we have taken multiple steps across, I guess, the last 1 to 2 years now to ensure that the company is in a good financial state. I think we did do the merger of both companies so that the balance sheet for IXSwap gets slightly better under the whole InvestX banner as well. And I think as Jules mentioned, we are going through an equity round right now. So I think for the time being, IXS we shouldn't be basing IXS based on the current market cap. For all you know, in a week's time, we might be 10x where we are right now. So I don't think that's a good measurement. Okay, what other questions were there? how often are we going to have deals on the platform? I think I mentioned this in the previous AMA before as well. Right now, we're currently looking at about one deal every month until we start seeing more traction. I mean, just a couple of updates from the Torex deal, the Tau Digital deal. Majority of the funds have been, I guess, funded by TradFi investors in the current state. And when I say that, when I say TradFi investors, it's friends and family or people that we know that were interested in the investment round but were not familiar with blockchain. I think someone also asked how are these guys related to us? These are basically just connections that we have built over the years, friends, family, colleagues that we've met in the TradFi industry. But yeah, so I think for now, we're going to keep it at one deal a month until we start seeing traction, until we start seeing that the community and get more members from the community invest into the deal. Yes, we will still be fundraising the deal on the back end, but we would appreciate, I guess, a lot more support from the community and I guess for us to be launching more deals. I mean, at the same time, we could launch a whole bunch of deals. We have had quite a lot of inquiries coming to the platform just for doing primary raises, for doing launches of the new companies, the new platforms, new debt deals. But what will happen is that you have a whole bunch of deals on the platform and nothing's going to get complete, which is actually what you see on a lot of other STO platforms as well. And that's not something that we wanted to do. So I guess this is what we're going to be doing going forward for now, at least.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think also knowing that there's a mixture in the community of, I guess, crypto investors and security token investors. I think we've, like all token projects, we launched to raise money to build the platforms. So our project and platforms take considerably longer than, in brackets, most crypto projects that don't require any licenses. Or might need them, but they don't have them because we've got a lot more checks and balances on us. But with that being said, I think that we've made these investments as small as one USDC or one USDT. So there's sort of no excuse for anyone in the IXSwap community who supports the project not to be wanting and willing to get started investing and building a portfolio of STOs. So the take on it that I have is that this is basically a new asset class. Although we have the technology wrapping around real world assets, tokenized real estate share, tokenized startup share, which you could argue, well, it's still just a startup share. That's the very, very basic 101. So the first concept of security tokens is digital versus paper benefits. So digital, transparent, tradable, blockchain, immutable, etc. That's all very, very basic. But actually, there's a whole world of development already in play, and we're part of that play of using the tokens to offer something better, not just the same, but something better, like a better form of equity, a better form of debt, more beneficial for investors. Things you could do with that token, trade it, lend, borrow, stake it, and this is just scratching the surface of what security tokens. That's why I didn't used to think that calling security tokens a new industry did make a lot of sense, because the underlying assets were still assets that you'd find sort of in TradFi. But actually, I've changed my mind on that, because I do think that you have a VC 2.0 fund, a real estate 2.0 fund, a completely better product, because you're using smart contracts and blockchain as the share structure. So holding and investing into those investments is different. So the point of saying that is that the only way to really learn anything is to put your money where your mouth is. And I don't think there's anyone in the community that can say honestly that they can't afford $1 to have a share of a project. Now, new technologies also, and this is what this is, we're using technology. Typically in history, those that have invested in the new technologies have captured the asymmetric returns. So here you now have the community we have now, even this small group we have on this AMA, has the ability to be some of the first security token investors in the history of planet Earth in interesting products that are allowing you to come in as any investor. Again, you don't have to be accredited, and you can put in $1 and you can touch, feel, and learn and start to become experienced in this new asset class. And it essentially just doesn't get any better than that. If you want to be part of a new industry and a new investment world, it typically costs a lot of money. That's just how it works, because typically that's just how it works, whatever the industry was. And now this is available. So I think that's a message that I think is really important, and then the community should be thinking a lot more about for themselves as investors. I can start building a portfolio of STOs. And again, having $1 share, whatever, you've got some skin in the game, and maybe $10 or $100, and you start to learn, right? You start to build up your experience, your knowledge, and you become a leading investor in sort of the STO space. And again, there's going to, we've mentioned this before, but we will, as the platform gets a lot more robust from assets, size, and numbers and investors, we'll start to launch deals in a similar fashion that we do in the ICO world. We will start to have pre-sales and private sales and public sales, and we'll certainly be going back to and allowing and inviting the community members that were there at the beginning, which is everyone on this phone call, and getting them into those rounds. Because like any good deals, and once it starts to build up, and if you go back to the beginning of the ICO days, like the very first ICOs, like it was very hard to raise money because no one had a clue what was going on. And then by the end, very quickly, there was a complete mayhem, and everyone wanted to get into these deals, and it was just for the venture capital firms, and all the individual investors got screwed, and they could only buy it on the exchanges when the venture capitalists had already made 10x. And our platform is built to allow all our community to be in the same position that those venture capitalists are. And that's what we're telling the startups that are coming to us. Like, we want to tokenize it. We want you to put it into these minimum shares that allow all our investors to participate. And we don't want like a VC having 100% of the first deal that's 10 times better than everybody else. We want to be in there alongside. And that's actually super beneficial for the startup, if it's the right type of startup, because then they're starting to build out a community that truly owns the company. And when I say truly owns, it's because in blockchain, there's a whole bunch of bullshit that anyone who owns an ICO token truly owns the platform, and all the value that's created there. That's simply just not true. If that was true, you wouldn't have all these VCs sitting on the equity cap table and also having tokens. But that's what we're telling startups to say. You should allow the community to have your STO as well as your ICO, your NFT, and not just keep it to the traditional guys, because then they'll be a lot more loyal and they'll truly share in the ownership of the platform. And so to summarize all of that, those deals will start to become sold out. Again, this is early days for the platform and the deals, and will be easily, because of the beauty of blockchain, tracking back to be able to see and validate who those first investors are. And we don't care how much people put into the deals. We just want them to get in there and set their wallets up, touch it, feel it, start building it out. We're doing that to our own team, our own company. Everyone in this next deal has to invest into the deal. Or there's going to be fines for these people, because, again, there's no, it's an opportunity to improve yourself and as an investor in this new asset class. It doesn't cost you much money, and that's just very unique. So you should be holding IXS tokens and building out an STO portfolio. And then we start to actually see the first use cases for IXS token. So as Aaron mentioned before, we haven't been looking at the market cap for 2 years. We were just trying to build the platform. Like all altcoins, we went up and we went all the way down 95% or more. But for us, that's happened to a lot of altcoins where the platform's already launched, and that's it. That's what it is. We've had that problem, but we only launched the first deal last week, 2 weeks ago. So, so to me, that's that's just the way it is. It's fine. We haven't actually had the use case for it. When we start to bring in all the use cases that we have planned for the token, which requires, again, just more time, we just need more time, then I think we're going to see significant growth in the value of the token, the market cap, and next year we'll start to look at launching on more kinds of exchanges. And the reason why we didn't have 1 million exchanges so far is because it wouldn't have mattered if we did have many exchanges where you could buy IXS. It still would have dropped all the way down because we're in a bear market, and the use case would still taken us this long to get here, regardless if we had 1 exchange or 40 exchanges where it was trading. It might have even dropped further. So that's just the background of the token. Of course, everyone here who owns IXS or wants to buy it is clearly, wants to know what's going on as the plans and where the project is going to go and what that would do to affect the price point. But yeah, I'm super bullish on, of us being able to build in, significant and real uses of IXS on the platform because, we can do that. But again, right now the focus for us in the near term is to get more good deals, get them funded, get more of the community really invested, not just sitting there complaining and yelling and screaming like crazy people. So actually building a portfolio that benefits them. Yes, it benefits us in the platform, but it allows everyone to come in there. And I think that's sort of probably the main message that I have today. I was a bit disappointed as well that the support from the community was extremely low, which is strange. And again, first deal and all this other stuff. And I think where the marketing team is pushing really hard to grow the community and grow new communities with a whole bunch of really exciting marketing plans coming down the pipeline that we're about to implement. So yeah, I think it's gonna get an interesting end to the year. So that's kind of a wrap up from me, Aaron. I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, and guys, just remember, the tokenomics for IXO was built on IXS's revenue model, right? So the more IXS makes through the deals, more deals launched, more deals invested into, means the more IXS is being bought back from the market, the more IXS getting burned, the smaller the supply is going to be. So naturally, as the product, as the business grows, the value of each IXS token should naturally move up together with the revenues of the platform. And Josie, you actually mentioned an interesting point because I've seen this question pop up quite a few times. Getting equity of the company and launching equity of, I guess, IXS and InvestX as a whole. What are your thoughts on that?
Sorry, that just cut out for me. What was that last part?
Your thoughts on us issuing our own STO and equity from the company. I've seen that question pop up quite a few times.
Oh, right. Yeah. So my thoughts have always been get a whole bunch of products out the door, different asset classes, different sizes, $1 shares, $10 shares, 100, 10,000, 100, $1 million shares. Iron out any issues with product and tech, and build up a strong track record, and then we can consider launching that and allowing our community to own part of our company. So definitely on the roadmap. I think there's a lot going on from so take it up to the take it up to the 30,000-foot view. We were the first to create legal and compliant liquidity pools for security tokens, even though we've only got a couple of assets. The first ones I'm aware of in the world that's issued legally compliant $1 USDC token STOs for all investors, not just wealthy accredited investors. And I just thought, it's a bit too much to go out too early. And say it's an STO for the company that is the STO platform that does the AMM, that does the launch pad as well, and the and the sister platform InvestX is also doing STOs, but that's an exchange and a SaaS model. So yeah, I guess my point is that it's certainly something that we want to do. It hasn't been high on the agenda right now, because I also think it's confusing. I mean, Aaron and I are talking now as well. Like, IXSwap platform essentially can launch cryptocurrencies and ICOs, but STOs have always been our focus, and even just thinking about the product flow, the process flow, the explanation, the understanding, we don't think that it's a good idea right now to launch STOs and ICOs for for the same company, whoever that is, on the same platform right now. Even if you could legally do it, no one in the world's done this, right? We're the first guys doing STOs. There's a bunch of ICO platforms out there. They're not allowed legally to do STOs. Maybe they have done it legally, but there's no one out there doing it. And forgetting anything, it's like doing 2 fundraisings for one company at the same time in the same place is very, very confusing. It doesn't even happen in TradFi. You don't typically go, oh, I'm raising $10 million of debt, and I'm raising 10 million at exactly the same time, and it's all being done by this one banker, and his name's John, and just go speak to him. So it's something that I think is the future of fundraising for startups, that you have an ICO, you have an STO, you have NFTs, maybe even have your own stable coin if you're big enough, and your community can participate in all of them. But I think you got to be very careful about how you do that, when you do that, what sequence you do that in, because that makes that it's quite easy to get confused and to confuse people as well. So we're actually speaking with a couple of ICO platforms and looking at doing some of the first STO and ICOs, but it would be STO on Launchpad, IXSwap, equity is what you get, etc. And ICO, I'm not going to name the platforms, will be the other platform. It's an ICO, it's not an STO. Here's the token, here's utility, here's the sale program. And if you want to buy both, you've got to register on 2 different platforms and buy 2 different things. And that's how we think that the first STO plus ICO will start going out the door. So yeah, that's a bit more color I have on that. And I definitely think that's the future. And yeah, at one point, if we think we've got enough good product and tech and investors' explanations and understanding, maybe we'll do it all on IXSwap, but we've got to take it one step at a time. All right, Gene. We're coming up to the half-hour mark. Is there any, or Aaron, are there any other specific questions that we wanted to try to run through that people have been asking? I think we've given quite a lot of updates. I've been traveling a lot and haven't slept for a day or 2, so let me know what other questions we've got.
I think we've covered most of the major topics, but I'll stay around the chat for a bit if anyone else has any more questions. And I guess for all the Zeely users out there, the key phrase today is tokenization is key. So yeah, thanks everyone for your time today. And
all right. Yeah, thanks.
I'll hang around the chat for a bit, guys.